You're listening to Green Ovation with Diane Naidu, the show where global warming is always a hot topic and green entrepreneurs are even hotter, where we chat to ordinary citizens who are innovating extraordinary climate solutions.
Hello listeners, you're tuned into Green Ovation with me, Diane Naidu, where we talk about all things climate change, sustainability, innovation, and one of my favorite topics, entrepreneurship, those disruptors, those big dreamers who have the audacity to believe that they can change the world with sometimes small ideas that are big solutions to the challenges we face in South Africa. Today we are joined by Andre Reyneke. I had the good fortune of meeting Andre sometime last year at the Green City Startup Awards event. And would you believe it? They won on the night. Andre, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Great. So, Andre, I will admit, I'm not one of those people who understands a lot of things that are technological, that are innovation. I celebrate innovation, but I can't really explain it. So I'm going to have to read from my page here that I have with me. You are launching your product called MISER. I call it MISER because it's easier for me to remember. The MISER system, which I believe is a new hydraulic, low-cost and efficient version of hybrid transmissions. What is that in simple terms?
Well, you actually said it quite well. That's exactly what it is. But in simple terms, it's an new or means of creating energy to drive a vehicle forward. So basically MISER does two things. It recovers lost energy. So normally when you're braking, you lose a lot of energy through heat dissipation. That's called kinetic energy. So the buzzword out there is KERS, kinetic energy recovery or regenerative braking. So that's the one element of our system. And then the second main element of the system is engine optimization, which very few people do out there when you start talking about hybrids and things like that. So the two combined gives you significant fuel saving and significant reduction in emissions.
Okay, so when I arrived, I think at the event last year, I think his name was Norman, your chief engineer. And he mentioned that you are testing this product at the moment on trucks. How has that been going?
That's correct. His name is Norman Grant, and Norman is one of the founder members and also the design engineer who started this process many years ago. It's his brainchild. So that's going very well. To answer your question, we have a couple of pilot clients, but specifically one of our pilot clients where we've been running the system for a while, testing what we call city, urban, and highway cycles, which is exactly that. It's driving it in the city as opposed to driving it on the open highway. So you would imagine that you have two different data sets coming out of those different drive cycles. And we are showing, when we launched when we started speaking about MISER, there are two generic products. The one being, let's just call it full MISER and part MISER. Now, full MISER means a whole new gearbox and a single unit that actually incorporates a gearbox, a hydraulic pump, and a power takeoff unit. Where with part MISER that we're launching next week, you retrofit that onto existing trucks. So you attach it to the vehicle via a PTO or power takeoff unit to the gearbox. And that is how you interact with the drive of the wheels, etc., and all those kind of things. And so part MISER gives you about 60% of full MISER in terms of savings, etc. And we are achieving exactly that at the moment, probably just a little bit better. So we're expecting that for typical city driving, we would show somewhere between 35 and 40% fuel saving on the part MISER system. The full MISER system, which we launch in a year's time, is obviously nearly double that. It's a lot better.
So, if I understand it correctly, this is obviously a solution not only in terms of cost savings, but because we do all things green here. Can you talk to me a bit about the green component to how this is a better solution than say, for example, the electric car. I mean, we've had this discussion often on the show where we're saying that, look, the country might not be ready for electric vehicles. I'm saying if our energy supply is not stable, if it costs so much, it's probably not a solution. How is what you are offering, how is this MISER system, whether it's the full MISER or the part MISER, what are the green benefits of acquiring your units or your products?
Yeah, look, I agree with everything you've just said, but I just want to say there's a place for everybody out there. So we don't see ourselves as opposition or competition to electrical solutions. We see that we complement them. And if you look at the new patents that we launched earlier this year, there are some versions in there that is absolutely fantastic. And I think we're gonna rock a couple of people when we launch those products in about 4 or 5 months' time. But the green element in hydraulics is effectively emission reduction. So what happened is we were awarded climate solver status by the World Wildlife Fund last year, and they had their own people investigate the reduction of emissions. So it's like a third-party verification, if you want to call it that. And their adjudication was that we'll reduce emissions somewhere between 34 and 65%. Which is what they published to the public as well. And so we concur with that. We're looking at our optimal system will eventually, in the next 14 months or so, at least hit 70% fuel savings. And so you're looking, it's not a parallel line as such, but it's pretty close. So we agree with the 65% potential CO2 reduction.
Well, I'm really happy that you talk about this verification. We do know of at least two other major motor corporations who suffered badly due to misleading the public in terms of just how green their cars are. So that's really exciting for me. But I think what's also great is that this thing of partnership in a green space, within a green economy, is so important. You mentioned WWF. I was reintroduced to you by the Climate Innovation Center, which is based at the Innovation Hub. How important would you say that type of partnership or strategic support is for an entrepreneur, particularly coming up with new and exciting innovations? How important is that in your journey? I mean, you also speak about over the next 14 months, and often entrepreneurs feel like they want cash today, money today. This is a journey. So can you explain to us a bit more about your relationship with the Climate Innovation Center and also what part they've played in your journey as a green entrepreneur?
With pleasure. They play a huge part. You know, we were very fortunate that we did not start out without funding. We had some of our own funds, and that's how we started the business and the development, where many entrepreneurs, especially if they are a lot younger, don't have that privilege, and they have to first start running around looking for that. So we had a bit of a head start many years ago when we started, you know. So, but eventually you reach a point where your money runs out, and where you need either resource adjustment or financial input or something like that. And we have some really good avenues to achieve that with in South Africa. And one of them, like you said, is the Innovation Hub and the CIC Center. And they helped us in many areas. You know, they have an incubation program that we were part of. We received some funding from them. They have a group of engineers, business people, legal resources, all those kind of things to help people like us to go from an idea all the way through to commercialization. And they've just expanded their offerings in terms of how they can help people like us in terms of the commercial process, which is extremely exciting for us as well. So yes, yeah, people like them and several others that's been part of our lives that we'll recognize next week as well make a huge difference.
So I need to ask, Andre, you know, when we talk to entrepreneurs on the show, we talk about their aspirations as a child. Was this something that you had imagined years ago that you would get into? And specifically, I'm asking about the green economy. There's a lot of discussion about the fact that there isn't really a green economy. There's only one, and you've got to make it green. But it's certainly a new space to play in. Was this something that you had dreamed of or ever imagined you'd find yourself doing now, by default or whether it was planned?
Yeah, no, look, I think I'm a typical Afrikaans boy. If you look back 40 years or whatever, I just wanted to farm. So, and guess what? I never even got close to that. But in any case, so when we started with this venture in 2003 or 2004 actually, and registered the company after we decided that we were going to go for this, I guess, to be honest, the thought was leaning more towards a good, solid business and a good business idea than the green space as such. Although we pride ourselves in saying that we are South Africans and Africans and that we want to make a difference to people. But that is the honest answer. But the one thing I can tell you without even thinking twice about it is that over the last 10 odd years, everything has changed. We've learned so much because we never really understood what the plight of the world was, and all the real stuff that's happening in our country and in Africa and those kind of things, and how reliant we are on the climate and natural resources and those kind of things, and that everybody needs to do its own little bit to make a difference. And we've been blessed with this opportunity to actually make a big difference. So it's a wonderful journey at the moment, and we are most definitely and foremost green people at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's also important to note. I think a lot of people do go into business with the idea of having a sustainable business and employing people and creating jobs and all of that kind of thing. But I think if we are just honest and look at our very real situation, as you mentioned, I mean, people don't really understand just how drastic the impact of climate change is not going to be, but it already is in South Africa. So what we often say to entrepreneurs, and particularly for the young folk who haven't quite decided what they want to do, we say to them, look at the issues around you, look at the problems that you are facing, and come up with solutions that address those. So whether it be a food security or an energy, or whatever the challenges, whatever the ills are that you are faced with, find solutions, develop it, and get support to get it off the ground. What would you say to young entrepreneurs out there who are maybe toying with the idea of doing something in the green or sustainable space? Are there any key points you'd like to offer them? Is there any bit of advice you'd like to offer to them?
Most definitely, if I may be so forward. There are two major elements that make up a successful business. It doesn't matter how green and honorable you want to be, or how good a business person you want to be, and how much money you want to make. You need to be able to combine those two, and probably 98% of the time, it has to be more than one person. So, in our case, Norman is the techie and I'm the business guy. And if it was just Norman or just Andre, we probably would not have made it. So that is very important. There are very few people like Elon Musk as an example that can do both, So you need to combine those two elements, and most probably it's not going to come from one person. It's going to be at least two people. And then I'd say once you are honest with yourself and you recognize that and you have the correct things in place, then you need to go and look out for partners, because you are definitely going to need partners along the way, be that an innovation hub or an IDC or a DTI or a resolution circle or a university or a city municipality or something like that. All people that's played a role in our life, you're going to need a partner. So you need to think carefully about how you structure it, and that you have the correct resources in place to both manage it and develop it. And then secondly, you must find the right people to walk it with you, because you're most people are just not going to be able to do it on their own. You are going to need some kind of support somewhere, be that financial or resource or whatever. And then thirdly, if you are a true entrepreneur, you have serious fuzzbait, because you just cannot
say it again, Andre, say it again.
Yeah, I'll say fuzzbait 10 times if I have to, but I mean, you need endurance. You need to walk the road, and you need to be prepared to some days not have money for food and take the bus to get somewhere or whatever. It's a tough road being an entrepreneur, but if you pull it through, the prize that comes with it in terms of what you achieve and your legacy, and hopefully financial as well, is awesome.
Well, Andrea, I do like what you are saying. I mean, I met with Robin Hills. She's with one of our partners at the African Climate Reality Project. And we went to go and take a look at one of the urban gardening projects in Alex, in the township. It was a massive project. And for the first time, I understood why you cannot have rows and rows and rows of spinach, for example. You need to have companion vegetables. You could have cabbages next to spinach, next to carrots or whatever it was. And what she explained was that these flies that come, that generally can rot an entire crop of vegetables, if they land on a cabbage and they go down, when they come up and they go back down again, if they land on a cabbage again, they'll stay. But if you have diversity and companionship, that actually leads to success and sustainability. And I think what you've just said is exactly what entrepreneurship requires to survive in South Africa. We need a diversity of entrepreneurs with different solutions. We definitely need companions for that journey. And as you say, the journey is quite hard, but the rewards are there. Just in closing, I'm going to be meeting you at the launch next week. I'm so looking forward to it. But what can your guests expect to see or hear from you next week, besides the products?
Yeah. So we'll have the product and a truck there on display, so people can touch and feel and see the displays and how it works, etc. So that's going to be nice. But then obviously we want to say thanks to these people we just spoke of as well on the day. We want to tell the world that we are serious about our business. We've been developing this for 13 years, and we're only now launching our first product, with the second one in about 4 or 5 months' time, and then some more next year. And we also want to tell the world that from July we will physically start selling and install this on heavy-duty vehicles. That's our entry into the market, or our beachhead market, as some people like to call it. But we'll be entering the market and focusing on heavy-duty vehicles. So from July, put your money where your mouth was, Andre Reyneke and Norman Grant. That's as simple as it is.
Oh, that's so exciting. Andre, thank you so much for joining us today. And to our listeners, you heard it straight from the horse's mouth. He says there's a lot of fuss bait required, staying power, endurance and perseverance. Thank you for joining us, Andre.
Thank you, Diane. Have an awesome day.
Great. So
thank
you. To the listeners, in South Africa, we have 54 million voices. I'm using mine. Use yours. Till next time.
brandlive.co.za. Guess who got brands talking? brandlive.co.za.